Compliance on a budget. How to save money without taking shortcuts or risks. Hi there, my name is Martin Schein and I am the founder of The Atomic, an agency that specializes in marketing and compliance services for manufacturers and distributors worldwide. I've got some tips of how to cut down on the time and money you spend making sure your product meets all the regulations. Trust me, I've been around the block. I've done this over 100 countries. Now, let's hear from our resident chemist and compliance officer, Nadine.
So you've considered all the requirements and have thought about your options. And now you're sitting and wondering, but how can I save money? Trying to slim down your budget at the expense of compliance can be extremely risky. That being said, there are a lot of smart ways to save money with compliance. As always, keep in mind that it all starts with the product itself. The more a product has to do with humans, the more complicated the compliance process will be. One way you could save money in your project is with good preparation and good documents from the very beginning. Being prepared right from the start will save you a lot of money and time in the long run because you will avoid unnecessary hiccups. At the end of the day, the scope of the testing requirements for your product will remain the same, but the way in which you approach it can save you some time if you just plan your project well. Secondly, everything that you need to prove in the efficacy or safety of your product can be achieved by any accredited lab all over the world. That means you can compare testing prices from labs all over the world and choose labs that are more affordable. For example, let's say you want to sell your product in Germany. You don't have to use a German lab to test the product. German labs are quite expensive and might have long waiting periods before being able to start your project. Instead, you can hire labs in Israel, South Africa, Italy, Spain, the UK, or even India. Your biggest requirement is that they need to be accredited to test according to the specific European standard applicable to your product. In this way, you can save up to 80% in the testing costs with the right compliance and regulatory agency because they will be able to source the right services. Basically, a compliance agency will be able to help you find the cheapest way to get those certifications. If you use a compliance and regulatory agency, you will also waste less time trying to figure out which standards are required for your product. If you don't invest in the know-how of an agency, you could go around in circles trying to find the right testing protocol, and you could potentially waste your money by doing tests which aren't the true representation of your product application and thus obtain bad results. In short, if you're not an expert in compliance, you could waste a lot of time and money trying to figure things out. I've mentioned before that my AirShield created a subsidiary in the EU. This is another way to save on compliance costs. Every distributor wanting to import a product like my AirShields to Europe needs to create all the import licenses based on the biocidal products regulation. So, to save time and money, in the case of my AirShield, we asked our lawyers from Anderson Global Tax to assist in creating a subsidiary in the Netherlands. Now, even though our plans to sell the product in the Netherlands were only something for the future because we didn't have any distributors there, having the subsidiary helped us with the following. 1. To register trademarks in the EU. 2. Create the Poison Center notification. 3. Register the products ourselves in the EU without involving further distributors. 4. Import the products to the EU including the customs declarations. 5. Import products into the EU without paying VAT thanks to the Article 23 of the Import Optimization Regulation in the Netherlands. Of course, this is our specific example, and your case depends on the advice your lawyers, accountants, and tax advisors give you. Another benefit to this approach is that you will be able to keep your intellectual property private, meaning you won't be required to disclose all your information to the distributors. So there are a few ways to significantly cut compliance costs while adhering to the rules. Our advice is, if you're not an expert in compliance, enlist the services of a dedicated compliance and regulatory agency. That small expense will save you a lot of headaches and money in the long run, as the agency will be able to think outside the box to show you all the ways to legally cut costs.